Welcome back to another episode of the Offer Mojo Show, where we talk all about crafting, scaling, marketing, and selling aligned and profitable offers. So, today I want to talk about something that I think a lot of us have heard 100 times, probably a million. And every time we hear it, something inside of us just cringes a little. And here it is: just niche down. If you've been in the online business world for more than 5 minutes, someone has said this to you. Maybe it was a coach, maybe it was a course, maybe it was a well meaning business colleague. And look, I get why they said it. The advice isn't completely wrong. But for those of us with layered backgrounds, multiple areas of expertise, and years of experience across different things, it feels limiting every single time we hear it. And I don't want you to think that that's a you problem. So that's what I want to talk about today: why that advice falls short for experts like us. And I want to offer you a different way to think about this, because what I've found, both in my own business and in the work that I do with my clients, is that the goal was never to niche down, it was to position up. Yep, I made that phrase up. So, first, let's start with the fears that come up when you hear someone say, just niche down, because I think we need to get these on the table before we can even shift our perspective. When you hear those words, a few things probably go through your head. The first one is, if I say I only do one thing, I'm going to lose clients who need my other skills. I've spent years building this range of experience. Why would I want to throw any of that away? The second one is, my work is too nuanced to fit in a box. What I do doesn't have a clean label. The moment I try to put it in one lane, I lose all the complexity that makes it actually work. And the third one, and honestly, this one's probably the sneakiest one, is, what are people going to think? If I change my niche or my positioning, am I going to look like a flake? Like I can't make up my mind. Like this is just the latest thing I'm trying. Does this sound familiar? I know these fears well because I've lived all three of them. And I want to come back to my own story in a minute because I think it's going to help. But first, let me explain why the niche down advice keeps circulating, even though it misses something important for people like us. Niche down is targeting advice. That's what it is. It's telling you to get specific about who you're talking to so your marketing is easier and your message lands with the right people. And that part, that's actually solid advice. But it's not positioning advice. And that's the gap. Positioning is about how you're known. It's about the authority that you hold in a specific area. It's about whether someone can picture you clearly when they have a specific problem. Targeting tells people who to call. Positioning tells people why to call you instead of anyone else. And for experts with layered backgrounds, that distinction is everything, because you don't just need to narrow your audience, you need a clearer entry point into your expertise. One door that opens into a much bigger room. Now, here's what's making this more urgent than ever. And I want to share some research because for me, this is super relevant. There's a shift happening in the market right now that is accelerating fast. One consultant I read recently put it really plainly. He said that when AI can do a little bit of everything, the consultant or substitute coach or expert who does a little bit of everything becomes redundant. And the flip side of this is specialists who can build systems and frameworks around their expertise that AI simply can't replicate, because that kind of deep, specific, lived in knowledge doesn't exist in any training set. And the numbers back this up. By the third quarter of 2025, consultants and coaches who specialize in specific areas were commanding fee premiums of 30 to 40% compared to generalists. That trend is only picking up speed going into 2026 and beyond. The market is getting noisier. More people are coming online. Buyers are getting more sophisticated and more skeptical. They're not searching for a general business coach anymore. They're searching for someone who solves a very specific problem that they have right now. So if your positioning is broad, you're not just hard to find, it's too easy for you to be overlooked. I felt this before. Most people started even talking about it. And that's exactly what pushed me to make a change in my own business. Okay, so let me share my story so this makes a little bit more sense. For over 7 years, I was a marketing generalist. I had a team, we delivered all kinds of marketing services, and I was good at it. I'd already made one big shift in 2019 when I dropped my operations work, which, by the way, was scary the first time too. And now I was looking at making another one. And that little voice inside my head was not quiet about it. You just pivoted a few years ago. What are people going to think? And what makes you so sure this is going to work this time? But here's what was actually happening in my business. The market was getting crowded and way more competitive. More and more people were coming online and calling themselves coaches and consultants. I was losing work to specialists or to people who were just clearer in their positioning than I was. And the majority of my offers at the time were built around my team's skills, not mine, which meant I was relying on other people to generate my income. And that left me in a very vulnerable spot. I wanted something I could call my own, something that used my natural skills, that lit me up, and that the market actually needed. And I knew the market needed it because I was watching people struggle with it everywhere I looked. So I took the plunge. I chose offer strategy and positioning as my lane. Now, I want to be really honest about why that lane made sense for me specifically. I'm a two-time entrepreneur. I've been a launch manager. I understand the full life cycle of bringing an offer to market. And I'm also a human design projector, which means I'm literally wired to see things that other people miss. I see the leaks in an offer ecosystem that most people overlook. And my brain is half creative, half structured, which means I can naturally hold the brand and messaging side of a business in one hand and the structure and the strategy side in the other at the same time. That combination, that's not something I learned from a course. It's just how I'm built. But here's the part I really, really want you to hear. When I stepped into that lane, I did not drop everything else I knew how to do. My marketing background didn't disappear. My operations experience didn't go away. My knowledge of funnels, websites, sales pages, and content strategy didn't get erased. All of that became the layer underneath. I lead with offer strategy, but what I actually deliver to my clients is the full offer ecosystem. The positioning and messaging, the offer structure, the suite of offers that creates a clear client journey, the visibility plan, the sales pages. The years of operational experience that I built up went straight into the AI systems I've built to support my clients and run the back end of my business. I didn't niche down. I positioned up. And here's what happened when I did. The first thing that changed was my content. I started talking about offers, specifically every single day. I called myself an offer strategist. And even though that was a new concept to a lot of people at the time, people were immediately intrigued. They could see that I stood out. Within the first month of showing up with that clear positioning, I got 6 invitations to speak. 6 in 1 month. And in my podcast, in the first quarter of 2025, I had 58 downloads. In the first quarter of 2026, I had 526. That's almost a 10x increase in 1 year. Now, that might not seem like a lot of podcast downloads, but for a niche podcast that's only a year old, I celebrate that level of growth. And that growth came from me being clearer and tighter with my positioning. So let me give you the framework because I want this to be practical for you and not just a good story. Let's call this the positioning up framework, and it has 2 steps. Step 1 is to find your core transformation or specialty. This is the one before and after that your best clients experience from working with you. Not your method, not your credentials, the actual shift that happens for the person on the other side. And here's the most important part. Be specific. I mean, really specific. Not, I help people grow their business. That's a category, not a transformation. Think about your best client results. What did they come in not being able to do or say or see? And what were they able to do, say, or see when they left? That gap is your core transformation. Step 2 is to map your expertise layer. This is everything in your background that makes your delivery of that transformation different from everyone else who does something similar. Your credentials, your past careers, your life experience, the way your brain works, the specific lens that you bring that nobody else has. This layer doesn't go in your headline, it goes in your positioning story. It goes in your content. It goes in your sales conversations. It's what makes someone say, oh, nobody else does it quite like that. The combination of those 2 things is your positioning. And that's not niching down. Again, that is positioning up. There's actually a concept in career development called the T-shaped professional. It was originally popularized by CEO Tim Brown that describes someone with deep expertise in one vertical and broad knowledge across related areas. Your positioning works the same way. You go deep in one lane at the top, and everything else you know becomes the wide base that makes you better at that one thing than anyone else could be. And I want to add this as a bonus. If you're willing to pick a specific audience, that is going to make your positioning even tighter. For instance, some of my clients have focused their work on wellness practitioners, cat owners, dog owners in Milwaukee, or mission-driven entrepreneurs. Their audiences are still broad enough to catch a lot of people, but they're specific enough for those people to self-identify. And add in your core specialty and your unique expertise, and you are well positioned to stand out. So let me show you what this looks like for real people, because I think that examples make this just click in a way that explanation alone often doesn't. The first person I want to talk about is Kasha, who is actually a future guest on this show and someone that I genuinely admire. Kasha holds a master's degree in mind, brain, and education from Harvard Graduate School of Education. She could have positioned as an education consultant or a learning designer or any number of things. Instead, she leads with one very specific transformation, helping experts build online courses that buyers actually want to buy and finish. And she uses her neuroscience background to really make that land. That's her lane. So her entire framework is built on how the brain actually learns, engages, and commits. She's not just teaching you to film modules and upload them somewhere. She's teaching course design through the lens of real educational science. The Harvard and high school teaching background isn't her headline. It's just one of her layers, and it makes everything that she delivers different. The second person is Kylie Kelly, and she's going to be a future guest also. I also have a very personal connection here. I met Kylie at a visibility summit where we were both podcast hosts, and I was actually a member of her email incubator program. Kylie spent over 10 years as a wedding photographer. And when the pandemic hit and she had two little kids at home, she made a pivot to online business. She didn't know much about the online space at the time, but she knew she wasn't going to build something that relied on algorithms, luck, or showing up on social media every single day. So she got specific. Her lane is visibility strategy that doesn't rely on social media, email collaborations, podcasting, and what she calls intentionally built rooms. And she proved that it worked before she even taught it. She grew over 7,000 subscribers in 18 months without social media or paid ads. Now, she could have called herself a general online business coach, but she didn't. She positioned up. And now, when someone hears visibility without social media, they think Kylie Kelly. That's what a clear lane does for you. And I want to talk about what that kind of clarity actually does for your business day to day, because I don't think we talk about the practical side of this enough. When your positioning is clear, your sales conversations get shorter. You stop starting from scratch every time. People come in already understanding what you do and why they want it. My last 6 leads came from AI search, people searching for offer support, and 5 of those leads closed on the spot, no hesitation. So your referrals will get sharper. When someone knows exactly what you're known for, they know exactly when to send someone your way. Oh, you need help with your offers? You need to talk to Lori. Your content gets easier to create. You're not trying to be relevant to 5 different audiences at once. You have one lane. You go deep in it, and the people who need that thing find you. And this is the best one, your rates go up. Not because you raised them artificially, but because being known for something specific makes you the obvious choice for that thing. And obvious choices don't have to justify their prices. So here's what I want you to do before this episode is over, or maybe right after. Grab a piece of paper and open up like a notes app and do this. Write down your core transformation in one sentence. And I want you to be specific. Not, I help midlife women live their best life. Tell me who exactly. Tell me what they couldn't do before. Tell me what becomes possible after. The more specific you get, the more your positioning will resonate with exactly the right person. Then write down 3 things from your background, your experience, your wiring, your past careers, the way your brain works, that make your version of that transformation different from anyone else delivering something similar. Those 3 things are your expertise layer. That's what nobody else has. You don't have to share it publicly yet. Just get it on paper, because clarity on paper becomes way before clarity in the market. And if you do that exercise and realize, I know what my lane is, but I don't know how to say it in a way that actually gets people to pay attention, or even I have no idea what my lane actually is, that's what my offer strategy and positioning sprint is built for. It's a focused 90-minute intensive where we take your core transformation and your expertise layer and turn them into actual positioning you can use on your website, in your content, and in your sales conversations. It's no pressure. It's just an invitation. If it sounds like the right next step for you, the link will be in the show notes. Okay, here's what I want to leave you with. You don't have to be smaller to be clearer. You don't have to erase your background to have a lane. All those years of experience, all those skills, all those different things that you've done, they're not liabilities. They're the layer that makes your work richer than what anyone else in your space is offering. You just need one door for people to walk through first. Lead with one thing. Let everything else support it. That's not niching down. I'm going to say it for the last time. That's positioning up. If you remember one thing from this episode, It's that. All right, my friend, if this episode resonated with you, please leave a review or forward this episode to someone who's been spinning on this exact question. It really does help the show grow, and it might be exactly what they needed to hear today. I will talk to you in the next episode.